Congrats on the Ed Block Courage Award.
Thank you.
What did it mean to get that one?
It means a lot. It's a pretty prestigious award, and for my peers to vote for me to win the Ed Block Courage Award, I mean, it means a lot coming from them.
We all know that you've played through a ton of stuff in your time here.
Yeah.
Was that the genesis? Was there something else that they said when they?
No, I think it was accumulation of things. Like you said, some of the injuries I played through. I guess my leadership style and how I approach each and every day. Yeah.
When you guys played out there a couple of years ago, do you notice altitude at all when you played there?
Here and there. I mean, you can kind of get like a little shortness of breath. Sometimes throughout the game, long drives and little things like that. So, as a defense, we got to do a good job with making sure those drives aren't long and we get off the field as many 3-and-outs as we can.
Lyle, too, has talked about how he's kind of leaned on you throughout the season. Just what's that relationship like between the two of you?
Yeah, it's like I'm an open book. So, if Lyle needs help with anything, you know what I mean, he can always come to me, ask me for advice on certain things, on and off the field. He lives about 9 minutes from me, so I always tell him, he can always come over the house and whenever he needs anything or stuff like that. So it's been great, you know what I mean? And for a kid like him, being so young, being receptive to to knowledge, being a sponge and soaking up any type of knowledge that he can. It's been great to work with him.
Well, what's that balance like? You were a high draft pick, a defensive guy, You're drafted to make an impact right away. So seeing him go through the stuff that you went through, what is that like to kind of find that balance between, okay, I got to do some things, but also like give yourself a bit of grace?
Yeah, just a reminder. I always remind him all the time, like it's going to take time because I've been in his shoes. And like you said, being a high draft pick, being drafted to make an immediate impact, that's a lot of pressure, on a young kid and coming into the league and trying to find himself and, how he, measures up to the competition at this level. But he's been coming along. And I always remind him too, like I told him early on in the season, like, hey, sometimes they might not come immediately. All of my sacks my rookie year came in the second half of the season, and I told him like the more reps that I got, the slower the game became for me, and I started to slow down, and I was able to see more and really play my game. So I feel like he's been really coming along over the past month, and there's sometimes they might not be racking up the on the stat sheet, but he's consistently back there, so it's been fun to watch.
What's made Denver's offensive line so good at protecting the passer?
Yeah, they do a lot of great things, really protection-wise as well. Mixing up some of the protections, moving the pocket for Bo, and he's been doing a really good job with evading the rush in the pocket. We actually just got done watching a whole scramble tape, and he's been impressive this year, being able to get out of trouble and extend plays.
How much has he changed from what you guys saw from him in the preseason? Because he played quite a bit, I think.
Yeah.
What you saw in the preseason to how he's developed through the year, how much has he changed?
His confidence, his confidence in his arm and being able to, squeeze the ball in tight places, and his accuracy.
Is there any usefulness from that tape? I mean, you weren't out there, but just because you see him going against your scheme, can you use that at all?
Yeah, a little bit, and just the matchups up front. You know what I'm saying? They have the same line that they had in the preseason. So seeing, I know it's good for a lot of the guys in the room to see their rushes against the guys and how they played against those guys in the matchup. So, and how to really attack it. Some of the things that hurt them throughout that game.
Is it fairly rare that you face a team in the preseason you're going to see again in the regular season?
I feel like it is, yeah. Usually you don't really play the same team from the preseason, so it's just a pretty unique matchup.
You always do such a good job of recognizing formations and like what they're going to run. What does Sean Payton do that makes it difficult?
Yeah, especially in the past. Playing. When I played the Saints in the past, I remember a while when I was with the Niners when we played the Saints. He did a good job with personnel, especially when he had Taysom Hill. You know what I mean? Just personnel changing up it's a whole completely different offense. When he was in the game and little things like that, and he could still see some of the different personnel that they do throughout a game. And like I said, like they do a really good job with changing the protections in certain formations and little things like that. So it's gonna be a fun game.
Do you pay attention to what other like interior D linemen around the league are doing, and if you do, have you noticed what like Zach Allen's been doing this year for Denver?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've over the past couple of years, been seeing some of the stuff that he's been doing. I mean, he's been playing really well and at a really high level, and which is great for them and their defense. I usually keep up with some of the guys, interior-wise around the league, just to see, what's been working for them, and can I utilize it in my game?
What do you say to football during a bye week, but still kind of take all the benefits away from that time off?
Yeah, sometimes you need, obviously in the bye week, you got to unplug a little bit and get away from football. And my wife was laughing at me because she was like, "You can't stay away from football that long," because we ended up at the Duck game. And being watching the Ducks in the Big Ten championship, which is a great opportunity. But also, yeah, I mean, even on Sunday, I mean, I was tuned in, all Sunday watching the games and everything, and. She was just telling me, like eventually one day when you get done, it's going to be really hard for you. I was like, yeah, it is. So.
Did you put Matt Conti in the Duck Guys too?
No, you know what? It was it turned out being a great game, so I spared Conti.
Congratulations on this game this weekend. What do you say to the younger guys on this squad? Just how they go approach this one?
Yeah. So really not just the young guys, it's everybody. We're like I've been saying it all week. People say we're fighting to get in the playoffs, but we're already in it. This is a playoff game, and from here on out, that's what they are. To get to where we want to be, we got to approach each and every game like it's a playoff game, and it is. It's win or go home essentially, and we can't hope and pray on somebody else, for our fortune. We got to make our own fortune. So it starts on Sunday.
How was the bye week for you?
The bye week was nice. I'd always tell a lot of guys it's not even so much as the physical aspect, but more so the mental aspect. You're in every day. Every week there's a new scheme that you have to learn. There's new plays. It's a lot, and it's long days. So just having that mental reset is always nice, so you can come back mentally fresh to just go back and give it your all.
When you're a running back and you see that late bye week, I mean, what's your initial thought of what's it like to get to this point where you're like, okay, I got to the bye week and like I'm fresh, I'm actually healthy, be able to be out there?
Yes, and we see a late bye week. It can be an advantage too, like you mentioned, especially if you get to the bye week fresh, semi-fresh, or like, hey, this week off would do wonders. So just being able to be feeling like this at this point in time, I feel like it's an advantage. But I know it's tough. It's tough to get to this point like this.
0% football during that bye week, and what's the process of getting back to 100% this week as you get back into the building?
Well, number one, I think it definitely starts the day before. I mean, you start going in, prepping, looking at some film. Of course, you probably will watch the game before, maybe in the middle of the week. Probably will leave the iPad alone the first 2 days, then look at the game, and then enjoy the rest of the bye week. But then, of course, the day before, maybe 2 days before, just start diving back in. It doesn't have to be heavy because, we'll go through our normal process. But other than that, it's just that mental reset. Staying active, getting a sweat, whether it's on the bike, sauna. But just that mental reset, I think, is even more beneficial than the physical aspect because it can be a lot mentally.
This game's got quite pretty big implications. Just what tells you that Anthony's ready to kind of rise to that moment on Sunday?
I mean, we've been saying it. I think you guys have seen the poise, especially in certain moments, especially late in the game. That usually comes from some of those veteran quarterbacks that have been in those situations a ton of times. So to see him have that poise, no matter what the situation is, I mean, we're literally on a 19-play drive to go in and win the game. To see him have that composure, have that poise, I just think that it won't be any different, going forward at all. I just think it's something special. Like I said, for him being that young to be able to have those moments, it's awesome to see.
It seemed like that New England game, you had a little bit more production than you had in the previous weeks. What do you think was the difference for the run game?
Number one, especially, with a lot of some of the moving parts in the O-line, you got 5 guys up front who now are communicating differently, and now you have the running back group who are now trying to figure out how to communicate with the new 5 guys up front that are newly communicating. So just figuring out that communication and just making sure, hey, what are you guys seeing up front? What are you guys thinking? This is our parameters. This is our kind of detail for the scheme. And then putting that together should show up on Sundays.
JT, you had the receiving touchdown in that game, stretched out, scored on that one. But what do you think you can add to the passing game and kind of helping Anthony just keep drives alive?
Number one, just making sure that, especially as the running back group as a whole, making sure that we're in our spots. A lot of times, if there's things covered downfield, most of the time that means, the back, somebody's left open. If things downfield kind of aren't there. So just making sure that we're all in our spots so that he has an outlet. And then you never know, those 3-4 yard, little completions may turn into 10, 11, and then now we're keeping the chains moving.
Just out of curiosity, when you're near the goal line, when do you reach? I don't know, they teach you not to, but as a player, you want to. So what's the balance like for you when you're like, I'm right here?
Really, the balance is just when I can be right. That's the only thing. You got to be right. Just make sure you're right.
It's been a little bit since you had one of those really long runs that we know you obviously can do. I mean, do you find yourself itching for that? Do you think your guys are close to breaking some of those? How do you kind of get over that hurdle?
Yeah, we were close last week. There was one run last week that we thought definitely could have went. But a lot of times, it's just everybody being in their positions, alignment, assignment, and technique. But then it ultimately may come down to a one-on-one. You got to make somebody miss, or it just comes down to just one person hanging onto a block a little longer. So you got to keep attacking at full speed. Don't give up on it. Just keep staying on your alignment, assignment, and technique, and it'll come. Like I said, we almost had one last week, but we'll make sure we get it. We make sure we'll get it.